Welcome back, everybody. Today we're doing something a little bit different than our normal survival Minecraft. Today we're doing a little bit of redstone, but not just any old redstone. We're doing redstone for noobs, because when I first got into this game, a lot of the information out there about redstone is very overwhelming. It's very complicated and makes you think it's a lot harder than it actually is. So I'm here to hopefully simplify a lot of those things. So one of the most important and first things that I want to introduce to you is the item sorter. Now, not just any item sorter. This thing that I built here is a very simple design. It looks complicated, but I promise you, if I can build it, you can too. The way that this thing is set up is, imagine if you're doing a farm, okay? Like maybe you're doing a mob farm, which most people will build those when they first start out because you can get all kinds of good items. But one of the biggest problems is you get all these non-stackable items. You get stuff like swords and helmets and, occasionally diamond hose. Not really, but, the point is you get these items that just clog up your chest and then it doesn't work. It overflows and you're frustrated because now you've got this broken leather armor that you can't do anything with. Well, this helps solve that problem. This is the section of what it should look like. This is a non-stackable item filter. Now, it looks complicated, but here's a list of all the items that you need for it, okay? It's literally 6 building blocks. They don't have to be diamond. You need a comparator, a repeater, 3 dots of redstone dust, and a torch. That's it. Now, this may seem kind of complicated, but I promise it's not. If you follow along with this, you'll be able to build it too. So it's literally a comparator facing into a hopper. You've got 2 blocks here with redstone dust on top going into a torch. There's a 1 block gap because right here you're going to have redstone dust. You're going to have this little repeater pointing into this block, which is right under the comparator. So the important thing is that it's basically reading what's coming into this hopper here. And if it has the right power level, it'll open up this hopper and let it drop down, because right now this hopper's locked. Nothing's going to flow through it. But the second that something that has a high enough power, it'll go through here. This unpowers and basically lets this thing depower, so this hopper will open up and it'll go dropped into the chest. But now you might be like, wow, that's a lot of craziness that I didn't want to hear about. But just believe me when I tell you this thing works. So the way that this works is this chest represents the input. So this is basically coming from your mob farm. This is where all the items are going to come through initially. And then they're going to go into this hopper line. And what this is going to do is just bloop, it's going to suck out all the non-stackable items. It's not going to be able to filter through individual items like leggings and boots and helmets, but it's going to pull all those out. So then you're only left with your stackable items, your 16 and your 64. They're going to go into a dropper. Now, when they go into the dropper, you're going to have to make a circuit in order to let this thing fire, because it's not going to do it on its own. It's just going to fill up and then that's it. So what I did is I came up with this very simple thing. I'm not the first one to come up with this. This is a common circuit. It's out there. I don't claim to own this circuit, but I'm implementing it here so you can see how it all works together. And you can modify this however you'd like. All it is 2 observers facing each other on top of a sticky piston, as well as a block with a lever. And then in the very back here, you've got a repeater facing into it. Now, I put 3 ticks of delay. So all that means is you just click it a couple times. It's going to lay out like this. You go 1, 2. That's all you got to do. It's going to be set up. And then what that's going to do is it's going to make it to where it fires at a slower rate. So now it's going to go like this, just ticking every now and again. Because at the regular rate, it's going to be like this. And the items are just going to go flying out. And they're going to go everywhere. And you're not going to get all of your items. So you set it here. It fires nice and slow. And it works. And you have a way to shut the whole thing off. So that way it's not just constantly running. Because if you're playing on a server, this thing could lag the crap out of it. So now you got the dropper thing figured out. Then it comes down to the actual sorting. Now, these are the very common things. I'm sure you've seen these before. This is just your basic item filter, okay? This is the blocks that you're going to need. Wouldn't you know it? It's the exact same. Not 63. That's wrong. You only need 1 comparator and you only need 1 repeater, okay? It's the exact same as the non-stackable. It's just laid out a little bit different. It's just a comparator reading a hopper that's going into the comparator, or you could have it facing out. You just don't want this actually connecting to anything, basically. So then what it's going to do is this is going to read it, and then once it gets the items that it needs, it's going to go down here and it's going to unlock this torch. So it'll create a power. It'll power this, which will unpower this. Basically, it sees what it wants in here and it opens up this hopper. That's the most basic way I can explain that. Now, the way that it does this is based off of power levels. But to put it simply, all you got to do is you take an anvil and an item. So I'm going to use this wool, for example, and you just rename it. You could even just call it the same thing, but just name it something different. I like using like sorter item. We'll just keep it simple, something like that. So then you take that, and then that's what you use inside the sorter, because it reads this as a full item. So basically, you're just putting that in there, and you do one in each slot, because what this is going to do is it's going to prevent it from overflowing. For a 64 stack, it's going to drain down to 41, because that's going to give it the proper reading. You can have one stuck in this one, and then the rest will all drain into these chests. Now, the cool part about this is this works for both 64 and 16. So if you look here, the only difference is that instead of doing a 64 stack, it does 10. But that's because these items have different power levels. So there's a different level in a 16 stack item than there is in a 64. So it's just basically reading those numbers and figuring it out from there. But the cool part about these is that you can stack them together. So that means that like I could literally, if I need to, I could add another one right here and just kind of build off of it, and then boom, and then you just make a whole bunch of them all the way down, you know, and then you just use the water stream to move it along. But that's a totally different thing. Water stuff, we'll do a different video on that. Right now I just want to talk about the item filters. So now you've got these set up, you've got all these items, and just to demonstrate how this works, first we'll turn the system on. You pop that up there, and then in here we'll drop the items. So we'll do some of these, we'll do some of these. We'll just drop all these items into the thing, okay? And we're just going to let it run through. It's doing its thing. You can hear it. Look, there goes the snowballs. It's sending them through. That's the whole reason I got this glass here, is to keep it from flying out, because it's going to want to go shooting out. But this thing will go and it'll separate it all. It'll pick it all out. And it's literally inside here. You can see it's filling and then shooting, but it's taking its time. Now, the real test is going to be by the end, will we have any items where they don't belong? Okay? So it's just going to keep shooting, and it's going to put them all through there. And so far, you can see it's working just fine. We don't have any stuck items yet. All the items are through the chest. And I think it's getting there. Okay, it's almost there. So once it gets through all these, let me demonstrate real quick how many items we got. Is it still going? Okay, there we go. That's all we got left. So we'll shut the machine off because it's a little bit loud. So if you come down here, you'll see, oh, look, there's all the single stack items. So these are all non-stackables, all put together where they belong. You come into here, look, there's the 16 snowballs and 64 purple blocks. So just to demonstrate it works, this is what you would use if you were going to use a mob farm or anything like that, or you could use it for just item storage in general. Like if you just have like one input chest and you want to be able to just drop all your items and you have a massive sorter to thing, like you could potentially, you could just have this go on infinitely if you really wanted to. But this is the basic design. This is something that I think helps kind of identify how it all works together, because you might see one and like, well, how do I make this work with everything else? This would work really well if you're trying to just implement everything all together at once and simplify every little thing. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to hit that like button. Consider subscribing, because we got a lot more Redstone coming specifically for people that are new to this game. I want to try to simplify things as best I can. And if there's any way you want to see something new, or maybe you have questions about something in the game, I'll try to come up with some more videos for that. I also do a survival playthrough called Surviving Minecraft, so if you're into that kind of stuff too, be sure to stick around for that. But it's not all family friendly, so just fair warning to you. But I hope you enjoy this, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a great day.